This is a video by Rich Penn. Today we're replacing a front wheel bearing on a 2000 Chevrolet Impala. The first thing we need to do is to loosen the axle nut before we remove the tire off the ground. If you have a hubcap, remove the hubcap. Now this axle nut right here is a 36 millimeter. If you don't happen to have an impact wrench, just use a breaker bar with a pipe. Another thing you can do if you don't have an impact wrench is to loosen your lug nuts before you raise the tire off the ground. Now that the car is up in the air and safely secured on jack stands and the tire is removed, the next thing we have to do is remove the caliper. Now I'm going to remove the caliper and the mounting bracket as one unit. So we need to compress the piston in the bore a little bit. So take a large screwdriver or a pry bar like I have here and get right in the little window of the caliper right here, and we're going to press the piston in. That will give us some play in here so we can remove it. Now the mounting bracket right here is held on by two 15 millimeter head bolts in the back. There's one. Now take the caliper and support it with a wire from the strut. Now we can take our rotor off. Next we have to remove the three bolts in back here that hold the wheel bearing to the knuckle. You can see one right here, and there's one right up there, and then there's one on the other side. So we have to remove those now. Now those bolts are going to be on there pretty tight, so be prepared to put some effort into these. They're 13 millimeter. Make sure you use a 6-point socket for these. I'm using a large breaker bar. Okay, we got those two loosened. Now in order to get the backside one, we'll have to rotate that steering knuckle. Now we can get the third one here on the back side. This is towards the tie rod. And if you have an impact, you can use that to buzz those out. And there's the bolt. Okay, now that we've got the 3 bolts that hold the bearing to the steering knuckle, we're almost ready to take the bearing out. Now push on the axle right here, see if it's loose. If it's loose, you're all set. If it's not, you're going to need a puller to pull that out once the bearing is out of the knuckle. Now, up in the salt belt of the country, you'll find this is a bearing from another Impala. And what happened was this seal part of the bearing right here froze into the steering knuckle, and it was very hard to get out. So be warned that if you live in a salt area, this can corrode in there and give you some problems coming out. Now, I haven't seen if this one will come out easy or not, and we'll tap it and see how hard it is to come out. Yep, looks like that one's frozen, so we'll have to work on that. What we're going to do is we're going to take a air chisel and we're going to go right in here and help us take that bearing out of the steering knuckle. It's going to take some time with the chisel, but we'll get that to move out. I vibrated it with the air chisel, and it got it loose. So now we can tap it with the hammer and get it out of there. There's the bearing. The little shield. Make sure you know the orientation of the shield so you can get it back in. And you can see that the seal part of the bearing is still in the steering knuckle, so we'll have to remove that.